your attitude is the winning formula rather than your IQ. When I come to the last year at high school, I realized that I am very, very behind. Getting a good education was my only chance to survive. Luck, I believe, is being prepared when the opportunity comes up. And I always remind myself, like when I struggle, I said, that's your chance. That struggle is your chance. Don't give up. Keep working on. Keep asking help. Technology is as business as other departments. Why you call customer services business but not technology? I think that's the missing piece for technology teams. They are so detached and away from business. I think that's one of the biggest role for leaders should do it. How can I connect my people with customers? You might have the best cars, best tools, but culture is the road you are going on.
Today we welcome Sami Yalavac, honoured as the Australian CIO of the Year 2022, marking his fifth impressive appearance on the CIO 50 list. Sami's journey is marked by incredible adventures, starting from a humble beginning in Turkey and later relocating and transitioning to life over again here in Australia. His passion for building communities and helping people is the theme that resonates throughout every aspect of his life. His ascension to CIO started with establishing his own software company, Pega, as well as working for Daimler Chrysler, Beacon IT, and for the last 17 years with Bupa. He is currently Cybersecurity Strategic Advisor to Optus and Beacon, as well as a non-exec director for HBF Health. So, Sami, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure to get some time with you and to just be able to learn about your career journey. From what I already know, it's been quite an adventure, and I'm sure we're going to hear a lot about that today. And we're going to roll back all the way to the start.
Sure.
And I know life for you started off in Istanbul.
Yep.
Maybe you could tell us a bit about that time in your life.
Sure. Probably there's one part before Istanbul, how I come there.
Yeah.
That was my childhood. Wasn't maybe the luckiest one. Losing my father very early ages when I was 4, having a stepfather and going through significant financial difficulties and not a very happy home environment. So that was the first part.
Yeah.
But I think that part end up with helping me to grow further and get more resilience about those difficulties, because sometimes you think you are the world's unluckiest person because of those difficulties, but you don't realize how much they help you to grow. And this is what happened to me, because I pick, rather than being a victim of the situation, create my happy zone and fight for it. And that helped me to get really good results in multiple aspects of sports, leading and coaching some sport class, which I really learned about life, relationships, and even the leadership itself, as well as working really hard to go to Istanbul for a good university. Because at that time, I'm originally from Turkey. If you are not rich from family, which I wasn't, and if you don't have a really good education, life will be miserable, really tough. So getting a good education was my only chance to survive. So this is why I pushed myself really hard those years, and I ended up in Istanbul with my university life, which was my second chapter in life. So that was my starting point.
I did hear there was another podcast you were on recently, and you were talking about actually how you didn't have any siblings.
Yes.
And you actually, as a young child, had to go and kind of create those connections and friendships.
Yep.
Which I thought was really interesting. And I thought there's probably a lot of translatable skills that you learned at that age that you've taken through into your adult life. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I believe so. I think one of the best things having siblings that you can have whatever the fight you have with them, and next morning you'll wake up with them again. They are still around you. Whereas with your friends, with your peers, you have to manage your relationship. You have to learn how to create long-term trusted relationships, but also ongoing relationships. So that was my number one thing, being really cautious how I'm interacting with people, and I'm not losing them, but I'm winning them, because I didn't have a good support. I was living in my stepfather's stay, no relatives, no cousins, like literally nobody. I had a sick mother at that time going through a series of operations, and I wasn't sure she will make it. And almost every night I was sneaking in her room just to listen if she's still alive, so that I can relax and go to sleep. And I was just 7, 8 years old, those years. And not a good support within the home. So this is why I decided to go out and create my happy zone and start achieving things. So I end up with multiple sports, drama clubs. And after a couple of years, as I get the confidence, I start leading some of these activities, like a younger age groups, coaching them, leading them. But there was one problem. When I come to the last year at high school,
Yep.
I realized that I am very, very behind academically.
Oh,
Because the first trial exam make it so clear I'm not even in the list. They
Yep.
didn't put me in the list, not to a shame, because they don't want to put the last ones.
Yeah.
And that was my red alarm. So I have to make a decision at that time, stop everything I do, and just focus on studying,
Yeah.
which was very hard because I didn't used to study. I didn't have the fundamentals. I have to ask a lot of help
Yeah.
from my teachers and others, but also locking myself in the house.
Right.
And when my friends knocking the door, not even opening the door, because I know
Yeah.
that they will convince me to go out.
Yeah.
That was my day gone. But also keep studying. I developed some strategies, and one of them was going and buying a beautiful picture of Istanbul. One for my desk,
Yeah.
in front of my desk. And when I was studying, my head's down and I'm really bored or struggle, take my head up and seeing that beautiful picture
Yeah.
and say that you have to keep studying, you have to be there. This
Yeah.
is the place, because I was visualizing
Yeah. Right.
the different version of myself. And if I fail on that exam, on that first test, I start walking out of the room, and the second poster, beautiful poster of Islam, was at the back side of my door.
Yeah.
So I saw that, and then go back to your study. You have to be there, otherwise you'll miss out. So after a very hard period, I was able to get a really, really high score, being number one in the whole region. So I could pick
Oh, wow.
anything, any really subject, medicine, law, you name it.
So why? So God, there's so much to unpack there, but I'm just curious. Why did you pick tech? Let's start with that question.
Look,
Computer science, I think.
to be honest, I haven't even seen a computer since that time. We are talking about 1985.
Yep.
Nobody has computers in their homes, only big corporates. So I have no idea what's the meaning of like a computer engineering. But my decision criteria was, one, I'm going to Istanbul. I work so hard. I have to have some fun over there. So it shouldn't be something I'm killing myself through study.
Yep.
So I just eliminated medicine, a couple of others, because those requires a lot of studying and memorizing.
Yeah.
Not for me. It should be fun. And engineering is fun because you solve problems, which
Yep.
is very interesting. But also, I learned that computer engineering will be the future of all the job families, and then you can get a job, you can get a good money. That was the way to go for me. So easy to study, I mean, relatively easy. Still an engineering degree, able to get a job and a good pay. That was my criteria.
Yeah, fantastic.
And I think it's still valid today's.
Yeah,
even
like
more.
Absolutely. I think it's just interesting, particularly the mid-'80s, this would have been. As you say, it wasn't popular. Most people hadn't seen a computer.
No.
Certainly at home. There maybe was starting to appear in schools around that time, maybe not. So it's a pretty bold decision, almost a kind of futurist outlook that you took. And I saw that after you finished university, you went to, is it Alacre?
Yes.
Alacre?
Yes.
Holdings as a project manager.
Yeah.
I couldn't really find out much about them as an organisation. So what did that role involve, or what were you doing there?
Look, it is a very large holding. They have multiple companies underneath, construction, production, and many others.
Yeah.
So the initial focus was the internal IT department serving those companies under that holding. But later on, they realized they built really good products and capabilities. They turned to an independent software house so that they can sell these products and services to others and get a joint venture with a European large software house, also to go to the government tenders and others. Look, my starting point was as a developer initially.
Yeah.
And it didn't take long time for me to figure out that sitting in front of a computer many hours writing a code wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I could do it, but I really bored.
Yeah.
I really bored a lot. I was more interested in like, what are we doing here? What's the value we are delivering? Who are the customers? Interacting with people. So I very quickly find myself on either customer-facing roles or people leadership roles. This is how I end up leading some projects, some programs, or even pre-sale in terms of convincing a customer to work with us. Actually, we were in a customer, returned back to the main office. My manager took me from there, and they have to visit a customer, another customer. They were trying to convince them to work with us. So I accidentally with him. And in that meeting, after listening a little bit, I said, "Can I talk, please?" and they scare like what this young guy will say to this very serious customer. And I start saying that, look, I know your industry has this challenges, and this is our solution. I think if you do this is the benefit you will get. And they really like it. They said, can you get a case around it? So after we entering the room, I was thinking, am I losing my job or not? They said, look, that's brilliant, well done, mate. I'll take you customers from now on. So I accidentally find myself these customer-facing roles, creating strategies, like what might be the winning formula, how to use technology. So that was one turning point for me. It was all accidental. But I love it because most of the time as technologists, we think technology, but actually what you do with technologies really matters. Are you solving someone's problem? As a customer, are you giving a better experience? Like when you go on holiday, you enjoy, everything goes so smoothly, seamlessly. It should be the same for your customers. You don't want to be frustrated with things difficult, you don't know how to do things, etc. So this is why we always have to think from customer perspective, business's perspective, what that means, that technology, how that technology solve the problems, then you are doing a meaningful contribution.
Do you think that kind of problem solving or customer focused nature just was kind of embedded in you as a child, just in terms of the way you grew up and you're raised? You're always looking at solutions, finding problems and interacting and having to find creative ways. I'm just curious.
Absolutely. Look, it's a little bit private, but what happened, while my stepfather wasn't a bad person, based on the bankruptcy and some of the challenges, he really depressed. And he wasn't behaving in the best way towards my mother. And I struggle a lot. My mother struggled. And at that time, I thought that I'll devote my life to help others, and I'll not let any kid suffering like me. And it turned to that, how can I create a better value or make a positive difference in people's life? So I always look at purpose, what I do. How can I contribute? How can I make someone happy or a situation better? And it really pushes me, everything like sports, a hobby or something linked to the job. Try to find that purpose, what it is. This is the way I convince myself and create your why. And then that's your kind of fuel, keep you going on, keep you motivated. And when you have difficulties, you don't give up because you have something very important to do. It's worth to any commitment, any hard work. And actually that hard work became so easy because you are doing something very, very valuable, very, very important. So I think this is why everything I do, I try to find the purpose around it. And not just me, but also make people around me believing that, understanding that. Because you'll never achieve anything by yourself. It won't be fun. You need people around you. If you are a leader, it's your team, as well as your stakeholders, might be your board or any other people, creating your support kind of network, because everyone believes that purpose and everyone finds something for them in it. Then you have a much better chance to achieving that. So this is why I always find a purpose. So what's the value here?
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw, if I understood your career correctly, after you left that role, did you found your own software company, Pega?
Yes, I did.
So what was the kind of what was that about, and what was the motivation?
Look, that was one of my naive, courageous steps at that time. Look, courage is really, really key to achieving things. Going to uncertainty or things you never done, that's the only way you to learn and grow. But sometimes you need some naivety, not taking every single risk, just to jump to the sea, to learn swimming. So it was a period that the Alarco Holding decided turning to the internal IT because some of the big government tenders they couldn't win. And some of the customers will be out of support. And I grabbed a couple of friends. What about we build our own company? We have the IP. We take over these customers. So a couple of people said, like, who will believe us? It's too risky. I need a certain income. I start talking to those customers one by one, convincing them we have the IP, we can support them. This is what they need for the continuity perspective. Then I show my friends that here the portfolio of customers, this is the guaranteed income. Now are you in? So this is the way we initiated that. And it was very successful actually. It went really well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And that continued for a number of years, and it looked like you kind of went in and out of other roles.
I have to change cities for some family reasons at that time. And my customer base was on a specific location, and also there was a really good opportunity came. After that, I said, okay, I have done my piece. I'm handing over to my friends. I want to go a new journey. So that was the trigger for the change. So jumping a multinational organization and activities.
So it kind of sounds like your motivation often is about identifying opportunities, initiating, creating something. But you don't need to be there for the full ride. You're happy to hand it off and move on and find something else that kind of piques your curiosity.
Absolutely. Like maybe one example is, it's not even technical. When I finished uni, as a new graduate, I didn't have the best salary, and in Istanbul, it's an expensive city. Even buying a flat is very difficult, and we didn't have a established mortgage system at that time. And I was thinking how to buy a house for me, like a flat, really. And I get a couple of friends, like, what about we create a corporation and build our own apartment so that we don't have to pay commissions, profit to someone else? And they said, are you kidding us? Like, we don't understand construction at all. I said, that's okay, we'll find people understanding it. Yeah, but where will get the money? I will just convince people to join this corporation and we'll pay month by month. They said, like, who will believe us? We are just 22 years old. Let's try. Without trying, you wouldn't know. So I start calling every single friend I have, all the neighbors, my classmates, people from work. I think I oversell it, and then I end up with 60 families convinced to joining. Why 60? Because I found a project, 15 stories, 4 flats in each flat. So you need 60 families to initiate the project. And with the first installments, we're able to pay the deposit for the land, sign the contract. And because of I oversell it, there was another 60 families, then another 60. So we end up in 6 years. It was slow because we don't pay a lot of money monthly, but we end up with building 180 flats in 6 years. And I was able to own my own 3 flats out of that business. So by age of 28. So you don't really have to know everything. You don't have to have all the resources when you want to do something, but you should have a vision to sell people. And you need to know how to create that network of people, has the knowledge. You to achieve that one. And this is about leadership, isn't it? Like orchestrate these things, align people to a direction, and make sure everyone motivated and join and things go smoothly.
So what I mean, that's an incredible achievement at not even 30, right? In fact, there's just a series of achievements at that point through your life. What did you kind of learn about yourself, I guess, from those experiences?
What I learned about myself, but also about life, is life is not perfect, and you might have situations might not be ideal. You to do something, you to attempt to do something, putting your hand doing something. But my experience, and I figured out through a training, there was a program called Genius. The Gap International is the company delivered it, is a US-based company, and they ask us to review all the achievements we have done in our life. Childhood, school, private life, work life, and then identify what was common on all of them. And then you find your magical formula. And it will be different for each individual. So it's a very simple. I recommend people to try that. Just list them, all the things they are proud of, and then identify what was the common things on all of these things, and that's your formula for your next big thing. And my one is finding a vision, a strong reason doing something. Like you care about the environment you have, you want to achieve something, so define it. So that's one thing. The secondly, you might not know how to do it, how to go exactly, but you have to find the right people to be able to deliver it. So motivate them, get them together, organize them, and then working hard. There is no success without hard work.
Absolutely.
Not giving up, create the resilience, being flexible, because things will go wrong and you have the flexibility to find the right way, but not giving up, keep going on. And one of the scholars from our history, Rumi, says that you start the journey, the road will show you the pathways. But if you don't start your journey, you will never find out those pathways, how to achieve it. Absolutely. So knowledge is important. Yes, learn, read. But if you don't act, it's meaningless.
Absolutely.
And only after you start implementing, that knowledge start shaping up and start thinking, reflecting. So the courage is a big part of it. You to keep trying, doing stuff, but it's meaningful stuff that will motivate you as well as the people around you. So that was my kind of thing, how to go through these things.
I love that. I think you're right. I think often when people are kind of debilitated by what to do next, the worst thing you can do is nothing.
Yeah.
Do something, because even if it's the wrong step, you can retract and go in
Absolutely.
a different direction. But the worst thing you can do is nothing. And I think that's something, I'd always try and encourage the people in my life that I'm around, and give the advice I give is just take some action.
It is, isn't it?
It's rarely that you regret it.
And nowadays I'm having lots of conversation people, part of the coaching exercise I'm doing. And one of the key questions I ask people that, what would you regret in the future if you don't do it today? What it is. As people comes out, I wish they have my own company or this and that or writing a book, then I say, what's stopping you doing that at the moment? And people put lots of excuses, reasons, etc. I said, really? Have you tried? Have you started? You don't really know. It's all your assumptions, things. And without starting the journey, you wouldn't know what options in front of you to solve that. So that courage, that trying, being curious, keep going on to achieve something better, that you will be proud of. And let's say it didn't work. You won't have that regret in the future because you tried.
Exactly right. That's right. You can't regret the things that you tried. You're going to regret the things that you didn't.
And even if it didn't work, you will have lots of learnings. Probably will help you achieving some other stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. When we talk about courage and pushing ourselves, I guess, outside the comfort zone, you relocated to Australia.
Yes.
And I saw through your career that you briefly had a spell there with Daimler Chrysler just prior to moving to Australia. But what kind of motivated your move from Turkey to Australia?
There was an economical crisis at that time in Turkey. And the company I used to work before Daimler Chrysler has been collapsed. Right. It was a major bank and the government stopped its operations based on financial difficulties. And there wasn't enough good jobs. And at that time, I was discussing with a couple of friends what we can do. And migration was one of the options for us. And Australia was a good option, good climate. It's a multicultural country, so many positives. And Australia was offering citizenship. If I spend 2 years successfully, I said, at least I'll get it. Even I return back, I'll have it as a inheritance for future. So that was the decision I made. Then I got a good job in Daimler Chrysler. Even I got some good offers and positions. I said, you know what? I made my mind. I promised my friends I'll not leave them halfway through. I'll still go ahead.
So that's interesting. So you made the decision to move to Australia before you joined Daimler Chrysler?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, right. Because of the migration takes long time.
Yes.
And you don't know how long it will take, the migration. You still have to work. So after my application, I got a job and then I started working. Then halfway through my visa came. Then I talked to Daimler Chrysler. This is what's happening. So we agreed on the exit day. So without harming that relationship or the project impacted, I set a date. And I never do things by myself, and I always get people around me.
Yes.
And one of the things I have done at that time, establishing an email group at Yahoo Groups. There wasn't Facebook, Instagram, even a smartphone at that time.
Yeah, so this would have been, just context, about 2003?
2003 is the year I came to Australia, but this was 2001 when I initiated the process. Before that. And I was writing people what documents you need to get, how to apply visa, the conditions, this and that. And after I came to Australia, or maybe one step backwards, because it's tough, I convinced multiple friends to migrate to Australia as well at that time. So 3 people initially coming together, and then another 10 families, we used to work together, also come the following months. So I was coming with my own community, with my own support network, as I always used to do. But through that group, so many people, like hundreds of people, joined the group to learn about migration processes. And when I come to Australia, I start writing almost every day, like a Truman Show. Today I bought this, we got a car, I got the job, or we couldn't find a house to live, this and that. So people start, like more and more people watching and following. And because of finding the first one was so difficult, because people was asking, show me your reference, show me your pay slip. Look, I don't have a job yet. And I'm new in this country, so I don't have a reference. And no one was giving a house to us to just rent.
Oh, wow.
And one day I said, I'll wait here for the landlord, real estate, and everyone left after the inspection. Then I saw someone walking to the house. I just take out the car, introduce myself. Look, I'm a good guy, new migrant here. Would you consider give your house? I'll look after your house, pay your rent, blah blah. And then they like me and they gave the house. Then I thought maybe many other people having this difficulty. What about I help people coming to Australia, new migrants, and host them in my house and help them to finding their first house.
Yeah, wow.
So I start offering people coming to Australia. What about I meet you at the airport? You stay and then we'll help you to establish your life. So I start having multiple friends coming to Australia. Then I offer them, would you consider hosting newcomers as well?
Yep.
So it turned to a big network, over 2,000 families.
Wow.
From every single occupation, doctors, engineers, you name it.
You must know half of Australia by now.
Good enough friends for me.
Yeah, that's incredible. Because that's a lot of people that we work with in our day job as a recruitment company, and myself and many people in our business, we're migrants to Australia.
Yes.
And that, it is challenging. I think it's one of the toughest things you can do is to move to a new country and to reestablish yourself and those connections and networks and just knowing the lay of the land and things. But it sounds like what you actually did through your own experience of migration is create an environment for other people to feel safe and comfortable with that experience.
Yeah. It happened accidentally, not maybe intentionally, but it turned out that way. And it's hard, but it's even harder if you don't know the language.
Yes.
Because I was thinking initially I'm very brave, but after I learned to start feeling more like an idiot, that you don't understand people, you can express you almost feel like a disabled person.
Right.
You struggle to understand, you struggle to express yourself, like really frustrating experience.
Yeah. So you even then your English language was relatively basic by the sound of it?
Yeah, it was basic. I passed like a basic score, part of the migration process, but it was bare minimum. It was okay reading and writing, but when you interact with someone with like native speaker, it's a completely different world. I really struggle to understand people.
So that was just another aspect of getting here, arriving, setting up life, learning to communicate, and then finding a role. And I think, if I'm correct, you joined Beacon.
Yes.
In a role. Was that in Canberra?
That the project was in Canberra. It was a Sydney-based organization, but doing projects every single state in Australia. A software house. They hired me almost like a new graduate level of role on a technology I never worked before, but they believe I can learn. And it was treasury and finance. So the week one I started, they sent me someone to get the requirements. I had no idea what the guy is talking about in terms of requirements and what I'm supposed to. I was just scratching my head, like what I'm supposed to do now. Should I just apologize and leave because I don't understand them? And thinking that maybe I can drive a cab, maybe work in construction, because I have to do something. I didn't come with a lot of money. So that was my starting point. But after not giving up and studying hard on learning new technologies and language, things start working out later on.
Yeah, great. Look, you don't strike me as the sort of person that gives up easily.
No,
I can imagine you saw that as probably quite the challenge.
Yep.
And you kind of kept going through that, and then it looks like you were there with them for maybe 3 years or a couple of years.
Yeah, almost 3 years.
And then you find yourself 2006 finding, I'm going to call it probably your home for the next 17 years.
Absolutely.
At Bupa. And it's a phenomenal story. You joined them as a developer.
Yep.
You left them as, say, interim managing director, having been the APAC CIO. That's a phenomenal story. Maybe you could talk us through that time. Talk us through what drew you to Bupa in the first place, and what were you thinking when you first went into the organization?
Sure. I was traveling a lot in my previous organization because of each time project was in a different state, different city. And being away from home was quite hard. So I really didn't even heard name of Bupa. A recruiter called me that Bupa looking for a developer. It was attractive for me, it's a good company and stable role in Melbourne. So I accepted that and starting as an entry level. But I was lucky as well as working hard. Like Bupa grew significantly throughout this year. So almost every year I get a promotion, a different role. So I end up very soon.
Sorry, you said you're lucky. You struck me as someone that you struck me as someone that would have probably had more of a purposeful hand in that progression than luck.
Look, luck I believe is being prepared when the opportunity comes up. The luck you still need, because you still need to get that opportunity in front of you. But if you are not working hard and prepared for it, it won't turn to the luck. I think that's the difference.
Yeah, that's fair.
The luck piece for me, I pick a company, grow significantly. So the keep new options was coming up at Bupa. So that was the luck part beyond my control.
Yep.
However, like what happened through Bupa, whenever a new challenge comes up, I put my hand that I want to do that.
Okay.
And they trust me and give me the opportunity. And most of the time, it was something I never done in my life. I had no idea how to do it. But I had the courage to do it and get the right people around me and working hard to deliver that.
Yeah.
I think that was the ongoing formula. So I started managing some large programs and then managing the whole application portfolio. Then I start managing the whole infrastructure operations, which really helped me to end-to-end look at the technology management, almost every single aspect of technology I manage. And then the Asia Pacific CIO, initially the CIO of Australia, then when that part became the Asia Pacific for the Asia Pacific CIO. And also that means I'm part of the executive team of that large organization, like 22,000 people organization when I was leaving, and you are at the top 10 in terms of making decisions. And because of my focus was always business outcomes and customers, when the opportunity came, they asked me to step up and being the interim managing director for the health services portfolio, which is really like 5 businesses, really large, over $1 billion revenue, and stakeholders like immigration department, home affairs, defense force health services, 800 dentists through the dental clinics across Australia, optical stores, and a digital health business as well. So it was complex, tough stakeholders. And I was proud of myself, like starting from absolute bottom level to going there. And I always remind myself, like when I struggle, I said, that's your chance. That struggle is your chance. Don't give up. Keep working on. Keep asking help. Don't pretend you know everything or you are smarter than anyone else, because you are not. But get right. Ask and right help. And you will surprise, like when you ask help, how much actually people willing to give back.
Oh, absolutely. I think, people gravitate towards wanting to help. They probably are repelled by people that think they've got it in hand and want to drive it through without asking in that way. Absolutely. I was going to ask, in that 17 years, which role challenged you the most?
Look, every role has its own challenges. Each time there were moments that I really struggled, felt struck. But I think the infrastructure and operations was the biggest one, because I never worked in infrastructure area. I had no idea how to do their job. I was really surprised actually when I've given the opportunity. The CIO told me that, look, I know this is not your strength, but I saw what you have done in other areas and we have problems here. I want to apply the same principles. And the principle I just take you through, okay, what might be the noble purpose here? And when I look at the situation, I saw that there are significant outages. At that moment, there wasn't a stability in the operations. And I get the leadership team of infrastructure operations. I said that, guys, it looks like we have a problem. This is the situation. We need to redefine our vision, our purpose. And it should be simple. And I'm calling that as having 0 outages. There was a silence for about 5 seconds. And they bursted. They laughed at me. They said, you don't know what you are talking about. You don't understand this word. There's no business with 0 outages. I said, okay, maybe we'll be the first one in the world, which make the job even more interesting. Are you in or not? And they said, all right, tell us how. I said, I have no idea. But what I know that this is why I will come to work every day to find that answer and implement step by step. It won't happen overnight, we know that, but that's the purpose. So we are stopping everything we do and reprioritizing, and only things matter if it is serving this purpose. So this is why many organizations really struggle on conflicting priorities, multiple things opening. It's like a traffic jam. No one can move. There's nothing goes on efficiently. But once you know the direction and the priority, it's easier conversation to prioritize allocating resources. It really didn't took us 2 years to achieve almost 0 outages, except some external factors. And that was the main thing took me to the CIO role later on.
How did you celebrate that success?
How we celebrate? I'm not sure we did a specific celebration
Yeah,
because I'm
I was
kind
just
of a
curious to see.
person never satisfied, regardless of what you do. Okay, what's next? Kind of thing. Um yeah, I don't really know. But in terms of celebration, what I do, I don't wait a big outcome to celebrate. Every single day is a reason for celebration. So every month we share the things we have done, the milestones, small steps, even some of the failures, we celebrate because we learned something new.
Yeah.
We are going ahead. We are doing something better than yesterday, and that we're to celebrate.
Yeah, fantastic.
So, like sometimes we lost ourselves so much on the troubles, problems, etc., and feel guilty, stressed, depressed, and not helping to achieve your goal. But once you look things positively, hang on a minute, we were here, and now we are here. Yes, there are more to go, but we did something meaningful as a progress,
Yep,
or we learned something. Let's celebrate this,
absolutely.
so that get the energy back and do something better.
Yep.
That's the way, because otherwise, if you don't make the whole journey fun, you will delay the fun so late, you will really disengage people, you lose people.
Yep.
Because things tough, not easy. Transformation programs or technology
Absolutely.
project activities, lots of things will go wrong. You have to turn it to the fun,
Yep.
which is coming to the cultural aspect of it, like how to create the right culture, right dynamics in that environment. Even the failures, setbacks are okay as long as you learn, do the corrective actions, and going ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I also read about your time at Bupa that you focused on, I think it was quote, it said, removing the disconnect between technology and the business.
Yep.
I was just curious about what that involved and what that looked like as a
Sure.
challenge.
Sure. Early in my career, I think it was 6th year in that consultancy organization, I was very frustrated. Lots of things we do, but we don't know what we are achieving. But also the practice wasn't delivering the best results for customers or for the businesses. And I started reading about quality, like how some companies doing better than others, even some countries doing
Yep.
better than others. And I ended up doing a postgraduate on quality management just to
Yep.
learn better those techniques, those methodologies. And it really helped me looking things from end to end, not just the technology, but what's the process, how the customer or the business utilizing that service. Then you design everything accordingly. You put the right success factors from the end outcomes, not the technology outcomes perspective.
Yeah.
And I apply it all my life. So same thing happened at Bupa. What the Bupa's customers going through,
Yeah.
is this the best experience? For instance, when they are checking in an hospital, a Bupa customer doesn't compare the Medibank's experience because they don't know Medibank's experience. They are Bupa's customer.
Yeah.
But they compare with Qantas. Hang on a minute, I'm checking in so easily with Qantas when I'm getting on my flight.
Yeah.
Why it's so hard to check in a hospital for my operation?
Yeah.
I don't know what's next, where I'm staying, this and that. So that look at the best examples outside of your industry, design your processes or your solutions, and then keep testing. What else is happening? Is this still the best? What other adjustments you need to do? And I think that's the missing piece for technology teams. They are so detached and away from business, almost like two different worlds. So when I start as a CIO, I saw that problem and I see the need to transform, but I was looking for like analogy, how to express, how to explain people the transformation we need. And I come with a triangle as an analogy. I draw it. I asked the teams that, what is this? It's a triangle. Yes, it is. Do you know what this represents? This is how a traditional IT department operates.
Right.
If you put the business and customer on the top of that triangle, this is how much we little interact, understand business customers. But as you go to the bottom, there's so many doors doing stuff,
Yeah.
but completely away. There are multiple layers. It's like dropping a stone to the sea.
Yep.
As it goes deeper, you see visibility. You don't understand why it's taking that long, what's happening.
Yep.
And the people downwards has no idea what that means, the things they do for the customer, for the business. I said, we will revert this triangle, much wider engagement with business. We are embed ourselves in the business. We'll learn business, we'll learn industry. Then we'll come with proactive ideas, how to solve customer problems, how to solve business problems. And business will not see us business versus technology. Actually, technology is as business as other departments. Why you call customer services business but not technology? You are such a core part of the business. You have to call yourself as business, work together so that you deliver these results together.
Yeah,
You
that's
together fail or achieve.
So how did you get your team to be in tune with the customer experience? Did you physically push them out into the hospitals and to the services?
Look, we did multiple things, starting with listening to customer calls, reading the customer feedback, but also sending at least our key leaders to the retail stores, to the clinics, to our like touch points with customer, just to see what they are going through. And Bupa actually at that time established lots of mechanisms, lots of call recordings available for the leaders, and you're supposed to listen them. And the exec team, you're supposed to talk to customer directly on the contact center, especially with the detractors. Then you learn a lot about what they are going through. Or you physically see like HK homes, and I'm always very emotional when you go there and you realize that how important the service you deliver is not just a technical delivery. You are impacting someone's life, health. It's like a really, really critical. For instance, medication management, someone to get the wrong medication or not timely medication, it's a life and death situation.
Absolutely,
It changed the whole dynamic and motivation, how you are looking at that project. From a technology project to a mission for you. And once you connect your people to that mission, it's a much more sexier and important mission to deliver.
Absolutely.
People no longer think about, I'm writing a piece of code or testing or looking, I'm an admin on this. I'm doing something very, very important here. And that's the piece, motivate people, get excited around it. And I think that's one of the biggest role for leaders should do it. How can I connect my people with customer? So keep sharing business results, customer stories, and connect their job with that objective, what they do day by day.
Absolutely. I was speaking to a leader at one of the insurance organizations in Melbourne, and they were talking about at the point when one of their customers essentially needs to make a claim or pay out on the policy, it's one of the worst moments of their life. And that's the moment when you're actually dealing with the customer, not just at the point when you're taking their cash and you're selling them a policy. It's at the point when the policy that they've paid for has to pay out. And it's the way that they handle that experience that ultimately defines whether they're good at what they do or not. Likewise, actually, I was speaking to a CIO from one of the universities in Melbourne, and he was talking to me about sending his tech team to sit in lectures. So go and sit and be in a lecture, go and look at what our students experience when they're learning here.
Amazing.
And look at the way that they interact with technology, or the way that the lecturers use technology to educate, because that's what we do. We're an education establishment. And I thought that was really insightful, and it's interesting to hear how you brought that to life at Bupa. That I think that's something that definitely as technologists we can encourage more, is to get closer to the customer experience.
Absolutely.
With what we do.
I think it's crucial.
I was also interested in your move to CIO. Was that part of a succession plan?
Yeah, sort of.
You were kind of being groomed for that role?
Look, I have supported that by my business, but when the previous CIO left, company was in a critical turning point of initiating a large transformation program. And at that time, they thought they need to bring a very, very experienced CIO. So they initiated a search across the world with a global headhunter. So they had really good candidates from North America, Europe, Asia. And when I heard accidentally that recruitment is going on, and we didn't even heard at that time, I have to work very hard to convince the group CIO from London, as well as my Asia Pacific CEO, to insert him in that process. And they said, look, we are really looking for a top kind of really experienced CIO. Yes, you have some that kind of like similar experiences, but we are looking for a different caliber. But anyway, I was able to convince them to join into the process. And eventually the headhunter told them, this is your guy.
That's great to hear. Do you know what? It's interesting. You're the first person we've had on the show that this topic's come up. And it's really interesting when you look at the data, and I can't remember the exact statistics now, but the majority of C-level roles, organizations prefer to hire from outside the organization than from within the organization. And the kind of theory from a psychological perspective is that everything looks shiny and new when you don't know it. When you know someone from within the organization,
it's your guy.
It's your guy. But you also know their flaws and their weaknesses. But that's not really fair on the incumbent. So I was just interested in that, how you I mean, again, it's another story of you being bold, I guess, and kind of backing yourself and putting your hat in the ring. But I think often for people, they believe that the only way to CIO or the next role is to leave their current organization.
Yeah.
But that's potentially not the right way to go about it.
No. Actually, there's a research by Harvard University showing that your attitude is the winning formula rather than your IQ.
Yeah.
Or some of your past experience. It's more matters your curiosity and your ability to learn and your ability to implement it, like your commitment, which comes to your attitude again. And what I pitched throughout that process was my loyalty to organization, my commitment to organization, how I understand all these like challenges linked to the organization, and my ability to learn and doing something I never done before, with examples of my maybe the last 8 roles. Versus there might be some like great people, and I'm sure they all would be doing a great job, but I put my value proposition, what it is. I think it matters you to know your value proposition as a professional, what it is, like why people should trust you, why people should give you that role. And generally we think only the skills, training, this and that, but we forget our attitude, our approach. So you really need to be able to articulate, and if you have gaps, work on it. So make you not like a marketable, but someone desire to work with, because you are so good what you do.
I think it's work on it, but it's also know how to mitigate it. Because we've all got gaps, and if you know, part of mitigating those gaps is to hire good people around us. That can be part of the strategy too. I think one of my favorite quotes of this year that I've heard is from Adam Grant and his latest book, Hidden Potential, and he talks about hire for agility, not ability. And I think, you know, the research, as you say, clearly shows that actually a lot of experience and skills are not transferable. It's about the environment, it's about the culture, etc. But I think your advice there about understand your value proposition, I think is really insightful, because many people assume that it's known. I also think it's a very Australian kind of orientated cultural thing to not necessarily blow your own trumpet and sell yourself. I think I've worked in the US, I've worked in Europe. I think I come to Australia and I was quite surprised. It's a much more humble culture by comparison. But I think you do need to back yourself, know what you stand for, know what you're going to bring to the role, and be able to articulate that.
I think just from that point, I was able to, lucky enough to watch Adam Grant live last month.
Yes, we were there too.
From the second row. And even able to talk to him later on. And I had just finished his Think Again book, in terms of not relying on what you know, but challenging yourself as if you don't know anything. What would you do? Like freely thinking, removing all the biases is extremely critical skill, which many organizations face on that, and then they couldn't find the right answer. But as a personal level, I believe vulnerability is your biggest strength if you're able to implement it properly. Because you're genuinely accepting you are not perfect, you have your weaknesses, and you're open to listen. Again, Adam Grant's advice, like not asking, give me feedback, can you please give me advice? What advice you give me for future, rather than reviewing the backwards past. And as people see you genuinely asking help and really open to listen, they give you so much, and you learn so much about yourself, and also the pathways to go, how to achieve things. And as you do it, you give permission to your team, admitting their weaknesses, and being more open and honest to each other, and that really facilitates really high quality conversations. I am facilitating the high performing team concept in multiple teams, part of my coaching practices. And I use Patrick Lencioni's 5 dysfunctions of a team. So that starts with trust. And Brené Brown highlighted a lot, the vulnerability is the number one thing to build the trust, because you are open, honest. And everyone drop their shields, armors, and being themselves, and the meaningful conversations start. And when that happens, you will able to challenge each other in a constructive way. So the healthy conflict happen, and healthy conflict drives the commitment. Commitment drives people keep each other accountable, and then they align the same results, going through the same direction. That's the formula for high performing teams. So it all starts with vulnerability, but that means that vulnerability has to start with the leader itself. If you're a leader, regardless of the level of you are, That's number one. How vulnerable, open, honest you are, rather than pretending I'm the one, I know all the answers. You don't.
Absolutely.
Let's be honest.
Nor should you. And I think you're right. I think any behaviour you expect in your team as a leader, you have to model it.
Yep.
You can't expect it of others.
Absolutely.
Or
Very well
kind of
said.
set it out as the commandments for this is how we're going to do things around here, but not me.
Absolutely.
I'm interested just if we were to try to crystallize I just want to finish with Bupa, just a
Sure.
kind of last point, because it was such an incredible story. If you were to kind of crystallize the secret to your success
Sure.
at Bupa, what would that be?
I think owning the whole was one thing. I don't look at just what I'm doing or my job description or my area. I look the whole, what that means for organization, for customers. And then I start thinking that what we can do better than this situation.
Yeah.
And start coming with ideas, opinions, recommendations. And as I come like that, people start seeing you, rather than this level, they start seeing this level because this guy's thinking bigger than its own areas. And then you find yourself a very critical strategic discussion and new initiatives created, and suddenly you get a role. So that means you start doing something beyond your role. So I find a way to promote myself through those interim kind of allocations and tasks. And as you do it, you prove that you can do it, and it became your permanent next role. Then you put your hand for the next one. So don't wait for an official promotion or a role to come. That on the whole, look at what's possible, what can be better than the today's state, and keep sharing your ideas, of course, in a humble way, not in an arrogant way. Try to influence people, try to test your ideas, get people's in. So rather than you to be like a really smart guy coming with great ideas, get others with you. Like this is what we are thinking with some other colleagues. Share the success, share the good ideas, because eventually you will be the beneficiary of that success anyways. And people will know that you are the one leading that. I think that was my formula. Like on the whole, get people around you, turn it to their mission and work hard and never give up. Which comes to the resilience. I'm talking a lot nowadays, the mental health and resilience. I think is extremely critical, like how to keep going on, how to lose your confidence. Because there'll be multiple moments you feel like you are failing, it's going nowhere, you don't know what to do next, you're undermined by your maybe colleagues. And you need like a compass, you need something to keep going on. And I have my own mechanisms to deal with that. And I think everyone has to focus on that, how to create that, but also for their own teams, how to build the resilience within the teams, because everybody is struggling. There is a research, actually multiple research, I presented recently saying that almost 70% of the people's stress level has significantly increased, and it's really impacting their capability to doing their day job, but also impacting their relationship with their partners, impacting their parenting capability. So this goes beyond work. And when they are not happy outside of work, it impacts their work even worse. So there is no really winners. So even selfishly, if you really only care about the financial outcomes, business outcomes, don't care about people, you still need to take this seriously. Because that's impacting the business outcomes.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you were talking earlier about customer problems. Okay. So if you just articulate what we're talking about there, you're talking about almost like a life problem, a work-life balance problem for people. Kind of what I feel, I've been working now for sort of 25 years. And I think about when I first came into work, I'd never been on the internet. I'd never sent an email. I didn't have a smartphone. So I got to work. I turned on my computer, did my job. I turned it off. I went home. I didn't think about work. It was a complete disconnect between work and my personal life, my weekend. I'd never thought about work. Yet we've kind of created and invented technology where it's 24/7. So it doesn't surprise me that stress has gone up. We've kind of created these tools to actually create what we think is more efficiency. And I sound like a dinosaur when I say this. I always have to be careful, but I do worry about the implications of accessibility and the way that boundaries are very hard to establish. And I know that there's talk about right to disconnect and all these kind of things through government, but it shouldn't be government legislated.
No.
It should be about leadership, and it should be about people understanding what they want from work and articulating that. So But I'm interested in that, that what you're
Sure.
talking about. I think that we've created technology solutions that weren't necessarily there to fix a problem. People weren't sitting there at home thinking, I want to read my email at 10 o'clock at night on the couch.
Yeah, yeah.
But yet they have the solution to do it now, and the accessibility to do it very quickly.
It is. I think there's a huge responsibility that sits on leaders' shoulders. As a leader, if you are sending emails like at 10 p.m. weekend time, your people needs to feel that I need to check. It's better not to miss an important message from my
That's right.
manager and leaders. And as you don't do it, that disconnect, you are not giving permission your people to do that as well.
That's right.
Whereas that zone, you to relax, you to recharge yourself, but also enjoying your life is extremely important, because next Monday you are ready to go it.
That's right.
But as you carry out it, you just take you driving more and more, so you have less energy on Monday morning.
That's right.
So even for selfish reasons, it's important, but also your personal responsibility, like who we are. Are you just a CIO? Are you just a technology leader or the technology professional? You are also a father. You're also a partner.
right.
You're also a son, daughter, wife, etc. So you have to think all the aspects of your life,
That's right.
and you have to be present. You have to apply your responsibility. If I am a partner, a wife, husband, I have to be fully present to
Yes.
my partner, to my children, to my mother, father, friends, whoever it is, or my community, doing stuff with the community, not just the work.
Yes.
Because those things is re-energize you doing a better job later on anyways. Especially the community related activities, I really encourage everyone, try to do something different than your work.
Yeah.
Because you will face with other problems, other challenges people going through. One is you will help them, but secondly you'll feel really, really good helping someone. And the problems like so big in your mind, because your project is about to delay or something happening, and look at what people going through, you will realize that, you know what, this is nothing compared to people's challenges and struggles. And you will feel the gratitude much strongly, like how good actually your life is. The things you worry is
Absolutely.
nothing compared to what people going through. So this is why we need to open our eyes and look at the world and contribute beyond our official titles and the job.
Yeah, 100%. Actually, it was something earlier, and I was thinking as you were talking, you're someone that gives a lot. And you're very humble, right? So you're not going to sit there and probably admit to that, but you do. You can hear that. Everything you do, you're thinking of other people, you're considerate, community, wanting to give back to other people. How do you how do you refresh yourself? How do you take care of yourself?
Look, I think doing these things is the real refreshment for me.
Yeah.
I get my energy from people, and I feel much better when I'm contributing. But otherwise, I love my private time, my reflection, my reading, my really quiet beach time, or having a walk, swimming. I try to block those times so that I can recharge properly. I'm not extremely religious, but I try to do my worship, praise, like your meditation. That's the time nothing matters. You just focus. You reflect about the meaning of your life, and when you do your worship within all these really stressful project meetings and things, you suddenly finish that worship and reflection time, and you are much more stronger, because they are not big deals anymore within the big picture of the whole life. If you think about whole life hereafter, that's not a big deal. I can fight with it. If it's go wrong, it will go wrong. So what? If I lose my job, I'll lose my job. So you suddenly re-energize. So these moments are extremely critical for me. Just like not forgetting what actually I have rather than what I don't have, being really grateful and thankful, interacting with others, probably worse situation compared to you, seeing their challenges, then your things start smaller, and whatever the mechanism, your resilience techniques, you just need to find it and apply it without any compromisation. With some people feeling guilty, even have a short walk, doing something, they think they are betraying their job, their role, their team. Actually, if you don't do it, it's the other way around. You really need to look after yourself, your health, your family, whatever else your responsibilities, so that you can do a better job for your business.
Look, and I think that's really interesting because particularly people that are very high on conscientiousness, they feel that I can't step away because I've committed to work today.
Back to backs, not even having a lunch.
That's exactly right. But actually, they're only damaging themselves. But that's a personality trait.
Yep.
And it's recognizing sometimes, and it's a strength, by the way, conscientiousness. We all strive to find people with that trait in our businesses. But if we're not careful, that strength can become a limitation very quickly.
Yep.
If we don't support people.
I always use this analogy, Formula One. If you watch Formula One, you only win with a couple of seconds.
Yes.
But they go to the pit for a pit stop, and pit stop almost like a 10 seconds loss overall. Yeah. I say, like you are only winning with a couple of seconds. Well, why you are stopping for 10 seconds? Because if you don't stop, you'll 100% guarantee you'll miss the race.
Yes.
So these will be your pit stops, your breaks, your lunches, your walks, whatever you need to do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you won't be winning eventually.
Yeah, I like that. That's a great metaphor. I'm going to ask you a few questions now, just more broadly about your career. Earlier we talked about feedback, and it's something that a topic I'm particularly interested in, and I'm always interested to ask if you were to think about what's the most significant feedback you've received in your career, what would it be?
Look, I ask a lot always. I think early in my career, why I have really good intention driving a couple of things. The feedback was people seeing that I'm doing this for my own good, my own benefit, and I realized that I am not really communicating well why I'm doing these things, why those things matters, and not updating people some changes or things. Then people start interpreting, because if you don't communicate, people start filling the gaps with assumptions, and they're not always positive assumptions, and I was losing my stakeholders or the people around me. Then I start thinking that, okay, this is what I'm doing, but how people seeing it, what that means for other people. And I cautiously think and start communicating. I also learned that not every communication understandable for others, because you can't think like that. You don't know what they know versus what they don't know. You have to shape your message towards your audience, and it might be completely different messages in a big setup like board, through your exec, through your own people or some other stakeholders. That message has to be massaged, meaningful to them. So we always have to be really cautious of, regardless of your intentions, how people seeing that. And keep communicating. Same thing with your own teams, that this is what we are doing, this is why we are doing, this is where we are, this is next, as well as give room for people to input to the process. What's not working for you? What else you want to hear? What else you want to see? So that you can adjust. But that means it has to be a genuine question, not a defensive ask. Because we generally ask feedback and then we start defending, or we start thinking how I will defend my position, rather than genuinely listening and curious asking, can you tell me more? What do you mean? Then you can think about the change and you can test it with the person giving the feedback. But as you are defensive, you're almost telling the other person, don't tell me anything because I'm not listening to you.
So it's taking down the defensive blockers. And communication, I think, is the other thing I heard there from you as well.
Absolutely.
And it's not so much what you say, but it's how you heard.
Absolutely.
Would be my
and also what you learn through that interaction. Because the people I coach, I always ask that, what's the feedback you are hearing? Then the second question is what you learned through that feedback.
Yeah, that's right.
And the answer is, they don't understand me, they don't understand. Forget about it. But what you learned? What was your own reflection? And most of them just froze because there wasn't much. Because they were not listening.
You kind of touched on the coaching there. I know that that's an area of your life that you're exploring, and an area where you're kind of investing in your own development. What does coaching mean to you?
I have my own definition, and maybe I have to trademark that. I enrolled a diploma program on coaching. I love reading about psychology and human beings since my childhood. But as I became an accidental coach and suddenly find myself coaching many IT executives or middle level managers or emerging talent, I thought it's good for me to learn how to do this as well. And I come up with my own definition, and that definition is being a high definition mirror for the people I'm helping,
Yep.
so that they can see themselves, they can reflect, and they can find a better version of themselves, like a magical mirror over there. Because I'm not in a position as a coach to teach them what to do, how to do,
Yep.
but helping them, asking the right questions, finding their own answers, their own reflections. They got the answers, just they don't have room to think about it. So that's my definition of coaching.
Yeah, I like that. I think a lot of people talk about mentors and coaching, and I think to me they're two different concepts.
It is.
I think a mentor is someone you can look to say, what should I do?
Yep.
Whereas I think you're right, a coach should be someone that helps you find the answers.
Absolutely.
But would steer you. But I'll let you trademark the high definition mirror because I like that idea.
But even as a mentor, like when you ask you something, what you think I should do, my default answer is, what do you think you should do?
Yes.
And most of the time, actually, they find the right answer. Then you can help them. By the way, please be aware of X, Y, Z. Also consider this answer. So you sort of help them, but as they find their own answers, they own it.
Of course, I think anyone that kind of goes through the self-discovery is the ownership and the probably similar to what you were just saying, actually, in terms of understanding of what they need to do. If someone reaches that conclusion themselves, it's going to be much stronger if they've articulated it. I'm also interested, do you have any career regrets?
Yes, I have. Probably one of the biggest one, not establishing my own business very early ages in my career, but follow my passion delivering through some large organizations because it was the easy path for me. And I still have it in mind. I'm not sure when it will happen. So maybe the coaching and advisory service I give maybe is a starting point for it nowadays. But that's probably one thing I haven't done. And what I will be regretful if I don't do for future even further, I am thinking, and many people encouraging me writing a book about leadership and my reflections about life, built on my own life, my own experiences. I haven't put enough focus yet. So rather than being really regretful in the future, I'm actually initiating this nowadays. So hopefully I'll end up with publishing sometime reasonable soon.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Funny if actually the next question I was going to ask you is, what will you regret in the future if you don't do it? Do your own questions. That's it. So we'll put a pre-order in now.
Absolutely.
A question about culture and the role that plays as a leader in an organization. Where does that, because you actually touched on this earlier and then we kind of went off point, so I was just interested to come back to it. Where does that kind of sit in importance in your mind?
I think culture is what you sit on it. Culture, if I use analogy again, you might have the best cars, best tools, but culture is the road you are going on. If you don't have the right roads and right crossings, etc., those cars will not go efficiently. The culture is actually the absolute facilitator in terms of how you interact with each other, how you find the best results, how you deal with challenges, issues, how you support each other. So that's the thing, will either make you going faster and more enjoyable, or really a showstopper and make everything so difficult. And most of the time, we really focus on the governance, the processes, the tools, and technology, and ignore the culture, and everything became very, very difficult. So the leaders should be really, really put focus on that, and it might not be their strength. Then get people understand that word, help you to shape it, identify your values, what kind of team you want to be, what is acceptable here, what you want to see versus what are things you will not tolerate, but also do it. Because everything you say, everything you do is the culture you are shaping as a leader. So being very cautious on it, and everyone to believing that and supporting that, and with some consequences, is extremely important, because culture doesn't magically happen with someone bring a great framework, values. It's just posters on the wall.
Absolutely.
Unless people see every day on your interactions.
I heard someone say recently, and I forget who, but they said no organization ever drifted towards a high performance culture. Which I thought was really insightful. It has to be mindfully crafted.
Absolutely.
And I think that starts with trust. And vulnerability and all the other things that we spoke about there as well. It's kind of understanding.
And it's like a plant, Anton. You wouldn't just put a plant over there and forget it. You have to water, you have to do the cleaning, all the maintenance things so that it's live and thriving. It's not something like a side activity over there.
Absolutely.
This is atmosphere. This is the oxygen you're breathing. You don't see it, but without oxygen, you will not survive. It's similar.
Right.
You're
Yes.
surrounded by your culture, every interaction.
That's a great metaphor. Yeah, I like that. The final probably question for you is, if you had a singular piece of sage advice for the next generation,
Yep.
what would it be?
Find your purpose, including your why, and turn your life to a mission. So that everything will be meaningful. What you do, not just a job, just an activity, just a hobby.
Yeah, great.
You are doing something meaningful.
Fantastic. Thank you. Reading, you touched on a bit there. You love to read.
Yep.
We've already talked about Adam Grant, so I'm going to take that one off the shelf. But you can't recommend that
Sure.
one. If you were going to recommend, or is there something that a go-to at the moment that's really inspired you?
Sure.
What is it?
I think there are so many, but one of the recent one I read, Why Has Nobody Told This to Me Before? A very long name. It's by Dr. Julie Smith, a psychologist, and it's all about resilience. It's all about how to handle some tough situations, how to keep going on, how to keep your your head above the water. It's very simple to read, but gives us lots of tactics and techniques, how to survive through company politics, through tough challenges, pressures we have in life. And the way the book came, a clinician, Dr. Julie Smith, was helping a young person struggling through the life's pressures and stresses. And after she teach her some simple techniques, she said, this is working. It's so simple. Like, why nobody has told this to me before? And that sparked her that probably many other millions of people needs this advice. And she started putting 1-minute videos on YouTube. And she's surprised that very quickly millions of people watching and liking those videos. And she felt like this 1 minute is not good enough and I need to give more details. And said, this book is the detail. What also you need to learn. I will put that one, but also share a trick. It's hard to find time to read books and also digest the message, but there are now summary book sites or applications, and I use one of them, and there are many others. I use Blinkist.
Yes.
And Blinkist offer you 12 to 15 minutes, 18 minutes summary of the book with the key learnings. And I listen a couple of books a week through Blinkist, and then I find that actually this book is really good. Then I buy the full version of the book.
Got it.
So that's my hook to find out what are the best books, best messages. But sometimes I don't have to read the full book, but I get all the key learnings from that. So this way, I look at last year, I actually read 119 books. Actually, I listened 119 books. No way I could able to read if I was reading the full books. So I strongly recommend find like whatever the application works for you and try to read, because knowledge is your strength.
And it's interesting actually you say that, because there's a couple of books I think I read last year that had such a deep impact on me. One of those was Radical Candor by Kim Scott. And I was talking to a coach that we work with, and I said to her, I'm trying to read Radical Candor, and she sort of laughed at me, because it's very deep and philosophical about the culture of an organization. But you're right, there's other books I read. I could have just listened to the Blinkist or read the short form description and got enough from that. So I think that's a good tip. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I may try that.
My pleasure. And for your previous question, I think I also want to add this one, because I observe a lot throughout my career, people I dealt with or nowadays people I'm coaching, there are many people thinking that they are not good enough. They don't have the skills. They are not as smart as others. So they don't think this goal is achievable for me. I shouldn't put my hand, or I shouldn't go that high. That's my limit. Actually, that's the limit you create in your own mind. There is no limit. As long as you believe something you want to achieve, you want to get, you know your strong why, and you work hard for it. Anything is learnable. And if you're not able to achieve that one, you'll achieve something close enough to that one. So don't delay your dreams. Whatever you want to do, believe yourself, and also be aware that like there are so many people you think much smarter than, not necessarily. They are just doing the right things to achieve that thing. They have so many failures. You only see the ones achieving or the final outcome, but you don't see all the failures, all the hard work, blood and sweat through that journey.
Absolutely.
And many of us just want to get that result without that blood and sweat, that ambiguity, failures. So this is why you don't get it. But as long as you said that, you know what, I'm happy to go with that one, I'll work hard, 100% guarantee you'll achieve it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it. Life without limitations.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the name of the book.
Yep. Maybe.
Good stuff. Look, thank you for your time. It's been an absolute just fascinating journey to kind of learn about your experiences and everything that you've been through and you've achieved in your life. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to Tales from Tech Titans, and be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcast. If you'd like to get more insights about tech careers, then check out the Ember, that's EMMBR LinkedIn page for the latest updates, articles, and engaging discussions.